Allow me to introduce myself.
I am the last sane sports fan.
I am a genius by trade.
I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
Hello everyone and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. Today we're going to talk a little bit about America's favorite subject, football. I mean soccer. It is football really if you think about it. And I can talk about it because it's my show. Let's get right into it. Today's topic, we're going to talk a little bit about the great Steven Gerrard, regardless of what your feelings about who he played for, because if you're not a fan of Liverpool, then obviously Liverpool is kind of one of those teams that a lot of people don't like, simply because they've gained a bad reputation over the years. I think it's lessened quite a bit over the last decade or so, but for the longest time they had a reputation of having the drunkest fans, the biggest hooligans, blah 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 blah. I think that's a bunch of BS. I think every team has their fans, whether you're playing America, England, Uruguay, Mexico, who cares? Everybody has their fans that go over the top. That's a whole different show that maybe we'll cover that one day. I seriously doubt it. Anyway, let's talk about Steven Gerrard. There's a big question going on lately, I guess I should say, that the prevailing idea is that once his career is over, well, let's get to the facts. Once his career is over, obviously he is going to the LA Galaxy in the United States of Major League Soccer. I quite frankly think that it's going to be a pretty good move for him. He's going to get the minutes that he wants, that he wasn't going to get had he returned to Liverpool. He's going to get treated like a star on the pitch, whereas I believe that LA is big enough, there's so many stars going around that he can take his family out, and your average Joe on the street isn't going to know who Steven Gerrard is. Whether that's a positive fact or a sad fact of America, that is the fact. And I think that that will probably benefit him to kind of get away from the limelight, be able to just kind of walk out, go to the store, go to the movies, do regular people kind of stuff, and not have mobs of people around him. But there's this idea going around that basically once due to the differences in the seasons, that once the MLS season is over, which it generally wraps up around November or so, that he will return on loan to Liverpool. Number one, I don't think he will do that. I don't think he wants to come back, and because he basically talked about it, he doesn't want to come back and be an ancillary piece. He's so used to being the main guy, the main person, the heavy on the field, that I don't think even returning on loan and still being put under those conditions will be something that would be beneficial for him. So number one, I don't think he'll do it. Number two, I don't think it's good for either him or the team. The team needs a reboot right now. Whether they keep the majority of the players that are currently on the squad or not, that is up to the team and Brendan Rodgers, if he's still there, or a potential new manager. That's up to them. But I think this season has proved, if nothing else, that they rely too much on Steven Gerrard. When they had uber stars like Luis Suarez, and even when Daniel Sturridge was healthy, and players from the past, they didn't have to necessarily solely rely on Steven Gerrard. So when he produced that bit of magic, all of a sudden it was just something special and something to behold. The team that they have now got too used to that. So to sit there and say that, oh, well, we'll bring him back on loan, well, all of a sudden they're not necessarily looking to themselves anymore. Regardless of whether he comes on as a substitute or even start a few games, if Steven Gerrard comes back to Liverpool on loan, all of a sudden those players get back in that mindset, oh yeah, Stevie G's here to bail us out once again. We don't necessarily have to do our jobs up to the specifications that are necessary for us to really win, because Stevie G will just do his thing and he'll come up with that bit of magic, that special free kick, that penalty kick at the right time to get us those kind of goals that we need. The team needs to kind of get reset in a mindset. They need to know that Steven Gerrard is not coming back to help them out. If he comes back in a year's time or 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 5 years, whatever, as a coach, then that's something different. Because just because he's associated with the team, that's not a bad thing. But to sit there and say that he's going to be coming back as a player, I think the team needs to move on. It's hard to say. It's almost sacrilegious, really, when you think about it. One of the best players to wear that uniform, that kit of all time, that you don't really want him back. But I think from a team aspect, from a team perspective, I think for those players that are going to be on that team next year, that are there now, they need a new leader. They need a fresh start. Which is not to say that anything related to Gerrard is bad at all. But they need to know that he's not going to come back and save them. He's not the Liverpool savior anymore. There needs to be new Liverpool stars, new Liverpool leaders. They need to start developing that now. If they have any kind of inclination that Gerrard will come back as a loan, I don't think it happens. So I don't think Steven Gerrard needs to come back next year for Liverpool, other than to train. That would be perfectly fine. I mean, he holds them so accountable that I believe if he came back just to train in the off-season, I think that would be excellent for Liverpool, quite frankly. To play, to come back as a loan, too much. One other topic I want to cover today, and it still pertains to Liverpool. It was a quick little tweet that I saw today, basically saying that the Liverpool ownership, which is the Fenway Sports Group, the insinuation was basically that they are not necessarily what Liverpool needs because they didn't show up on Saturday. And for people who are passionate about Liverpool, I completely understand that mentality. But what you have to understand, and I have no understanding as to why the Liverpool ownership did not show up. So let's just put that out there. I don't have the reason, but I have a decent guess. Baseball in America is played just about every single day. And these guys that own Liverpool own the Boston Red Sox. And as passionate as you are about Liverpool, if you're watching this video, quite frankly you probably are, and so am I. But as passionate as we are about the team, they're that passionate about baseball, about the Boston Red Sox. The guy, his name escapes me, but basically the leader of Fenway Sports Group, who owns both Liverpool and Boston Red Sox, grew up a Boston Red Sox fan. He's from that area. That was basically a huge reason why he wanted to buy that team. So as passionate as we are about football, about Liverpool, he is about baseball and the Boston Red Sox. So to say that he should pick Liverpool over Boston is kind of like saying, well, it's like saying we should pick going to a NASCAR event if we owned a NASCAR group over going to a Liverpool game if we owned that. We would not do that. Obviously, you have a vested interest in the NASCAR group because you want to win. You're putting money into that. You want it to be the best it can be. But from a personal aspect, we would have more passion for the Liverpool side. So I completely understand. It's frustrating from a Liverpool aspect, for Liverpool supporters, not understanding why their ownership wouldn't show up on such an important day, especially honoring a Liverpool legend. Concessions could have been made. I believe the ownership group probably could have been there. So I'm not completely on their side. But I don't like this idea necessarily that ownership group is completely bad for the team just because they didn't show up for one game on Saturday. An important game, to be sure, honoring a legend, those kind of things need to be made. But I don't think it's necessarily that big a deal either. Would Liverpool be better suited with a different owner, one more concentrated on football? possibly, but I honestly think the Fenway Sports Group wants the best for Liverpool. I don't think that they're like Arsenal's owner, Stan Kroenke, who basically, he's perfectly fine making the top four and nothing else because all he cares about is money. He doesn't care about winning championships, so he's perfectly fine with Arsene Wenger not spending his full allotment all the time. Liverpool just, they have a certain way that they're trying to do things right now. It's not necessarily the way that you or I would want things done. If we just had some foreign investor come in with boatloads of cash, we'd be happy because then we could go after the big stars every single transfer window. That's not the way that this ownership group wants to do things, and I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, to try to bring up younger people, try to build from within. That's the way that Boston won their championships back in the early 2000s. Not a bad idea, just not quick enough for fans, but I still think that that ownership group is trying to do good things. That'll wrap it up for today's View from the Midwest. That is the View from the Midwest. What is your view on the topics that we talked about today? If you're watching on YouTube, comment, rate, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure to share it around with your friends. But until the next time, I'll see you then.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much